being able to share some great information with you guys. All right. Happy Friday and happy 4th of July to everybody here in the States. Canada, you guys hopefully will take an extra day off too. I don't know. Hello, Margaret. Welcome. All right. It is 11 o'clock Central Time in Kansas City. Great to see everybody here. All right. So I want to ask, I'll start with this. Did you guys hear about the employment numbers? So because today is a federal holiday, because it's the observance of July 4th, Independence Day, they put out the unemployment numbers early yesterday afternoon. And I got to tell you, this is really vindicating for me, because I've been telling everyone that I really believe that we've got a really sharp increase. We're going to have a quick recovery. It's going to go really fast. And every time I say that, my husband says his heart stops a little bit, because he's really worried that I'm going to be proven wrong. Well, I got to say, these numbers that came out yesterday for the employment numbers, I'm not even going to call it unemployment, because it wasn't. So to give you some context before I tell you the numbers, I've got to tell you that prior to last month, when we got released the May numbers, the highest growth, in other words, job creation in 1 month, was a little over 1 million jobs, which is amazing in itself. But last month, we were able to shatter that record. And last month, we had 2.5 million jobs created, new jobs. That's job growth. This month, since it came out, it's usually coming out the first Friday of the month, but because of observance, it was on Thursday. So I get to announce these numbers to you guys. This month, we had 4.5 million jobs created that were not there a month before. So I am super, super excited. This is what I'm seeing on the ground. I am seeing all of our clients are getting lots of calls, lots of conversations. They're getting into hiring processes. Business is happening and people are getting interviews. And the reason that I am sharing with you the information about video interviewing is because people are getting jobs, really good paying jobs, with just nothing but Zoom interviews. So we're going to talk about mainly 2 different things around interviewing. The first is the tech stuff that you have to get right in order to have a great video interview. And I want you to take everything that you learned from last week. If you attended last week, take all of that from the video interviewing, apply it to this, take everything from the phone interviewing last week and apply it to the video interviewing. Now, if you didn't have if you didn't have the replay from last week, I will add that when I send out the replay, probably this afternoon or tomorrow. I'll send out last week's replay, because that gives you information about quantifying your achievements and building your 3 core strengths and things like that. So that's important stuff. And this now we're taking to the next level, because this is video interviewing. Video interviewing is quickly taking the place of face-to-face interviews. And we're now, as of a couple of weeks ago, we finally got our first client ever in the history of ever that got a significant job with just Zoom interviews. He never spoke to anyone face to face, and he's working from home in Boise, Idaho. So I'm really, really happy for that. So we're going to be going over what makes a fantastic video interview. And like I said, we're going to start with the technology piece, but then we're going to move into not the technology, but the nonverbal communication. And I've got some incredible handouts for you. So I've got a 23-point guide of tips on being natural or appearing natural when you're in a video interview. And then I also have 92 nonverbal communication techniques that I'm going to give away, that you're going to be able to know everything about the nonverbal communication that someone is doing on video. And it also will give you the things that you can do nonverbally to show a lot of excitement, enthusiasm, confidence, leadership, calmness, all of those wonderful things. So we're going to go through that today, and I'm really excited about it. So I'm going to start with the quote of the week. I got this one this morning, and the quote says, "It is possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That is not a weakness, that is life." So I would like to hear from chat if you know who said that. It's a very famous philosopher. It is possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That is not a weakness, that is life. Does anybody know who said that? John? No, John did not say that, although he's not a loser. I don't know that John ever had the word lose in his vocabulary. So he's doing nothing but winning. All right, so I'm going to tell you, the great philosopher was Captain Jean-Luc Picard. And he said, "It is possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. It is not a weakness, that is life." So it's possible to have a perfect video interview and still not get the job. However, I will tell you the difference between getting the job and not getting the job can be some of the stuff that we're going to cover today. And you're going to see why when you see the before and after of the person who actually got the most recent job. And he actually got more in compensation than he asked for, a significant amount more. So let's get into that. Before I go into the spreadsheet or the PowerPoint, I want to introduce the moderators out there. We've got 3 moderators. One of them is my lovely and talented husband, Brian Kabell. Say hi, Brian. And then one of them is Lacey Schicky. She's my second-hand woman. She's my right-hand woman. She's amazing, and she'll be answering questions. And then finally, Philip Brown in the UK. He's one of my lead coaches, and he's in Newcastle, England. So he'll be answering questions from a coaching standpoint. So if you have questions along the way from video interviewing about how to have those conversations, put those in the chat and he'll answer those. And the ones that he doesn't get time to answer, Brian and Lacey can text them to me and I'll answer them at the end of the hour. Now, last week we went a little long. We went 90 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and try to stick to 60 minutes because I know that either you're off work and you've got some play-in to do, or you're at work and you need to get back to work after 60 minutes. So we'll try to get it down to 60 minutes. But I just want to explain that big news of 4.5 million jobs created in June. That's huge. That's absolutely, that blows everything away. I mean, think about just 2 months ago, the top was a little over 1 million, and this recovery is going to be a very sharp V, and we are going to recover very quickly. I can smell it, which is really nice. The smell is really nice. Okay, so as we get started, I want to start a quick poll. I want to know right now, beginning of this thing, I want to know what you feel like as far as how confident you are in a video interview. So if you guys could let me know, just a quick anonymous poll, how confident do you feel when you go into a video interview? Do you think you're going to ace it? Is it going to be staged beautifully like what I've got here? And I'm going to show you how I actually stage it. And I'm not going to let you know what it looks like when it's not staged, but this is what staging looks like. And we're going to talk about staging. That's the first thing we're going to mention. So it looks like we've got 50% of you are a little apprehensive, but you usually perform well. And then 38% are mildly confident that you're prepared for the interview. So it looks like it's about 48 to 37, 47 to 38. Somewhere around in there. I really appreciate you guys taking that poll because I'm going to ask you at the end of this hour how confident you feel. So let's go ahead and end that poll. And I am going to bring up the slide presentation. We can get started on the content. All right. Let's see here. Give me just a moment. Excellent. I'm going to be tiny and I'm going to be up here in the corner this time because I want to make sure that I capture all of this information. All right, so today we're going to talk about video interviewing best practices. And like I said, we're really covering two separate topics. We're going to go into detail about the tech. Now, you may not like the tech, it's not sexy, but it really makes a difference. And since companies are now hiring people making multiple six figures with just video, it makes a complete difference between before and after. You've got to make sure that you do not do the common mistakes. And I'm going to show you what those common mistakes are. And I'm going to show you the number one way to make sure that you're doing an incredible job in your video interview. Okay. So why is this so important? Video is quickly taking the place of face-to-face interviews. In fact, nobody wants to get on a plane anymore, at least not right now. So people are getting, the last person that we had that got a job, his total compensation's around $375. So, and he's working from home. So you've got to make sure that you are well staged, well lit. Your audio is awesome. You don't need a big microphone like this one. This is heavy duty, but, and I'm going to show you what you can do on the cheap in order to make sure that you're loud and clear and you're also well lighted. All right. Now, the trend of working remotely is also sharply increasing. We're hearing a lot more remote jobs, and some of those jobs that were just normally an executive job coming in and working in the office can now be done at home. Most people are staying at home. I'm really finding a lot of trends of our executive clients. They are staying home, even though COVID is open. I mean, but the states are pretty much open, but they're still working from home. So it's very important to have a great stage when you're talking with people, even in video interviews. Remember, you're always the CEO of your own career. When you're in a job and you're in meetings with your supervisor or the people that are in a group meeting with you, you've got to look great, because you may be talking to your next boss. You may be talking to the next person who gives you a great recommendation. So always remember, you're always creating that perception that people have about you, around you, your reputation. And if you have a video set up that is second to none, and it can be really easy stuff to do, I'm going to teach you what those things are, then that will make all the difference. Companies are now hiring at all levels without actually meeting somebody in person. All right. So here's what we're going to learn today. Underneath my face here, we've got the concept of staging. What is staging? Staging is actually what it looks like behind you and around you. So we're going to talk about what a great staging piece looks like and how to stage your background. Also, it's going to be important to show why great lighting makes all the difference, as well as great audio. Those things are absolutely critical, and it does not take a lot, doesn't take a lot of fancy equipment in order to get great lighting that appears natural and also great audio. You don't have to have one of these big microphones. So we're going to talk about how to position your camera. I'm going to assume that most of you either have a laptop or you have a webcam on your desktop. So I'd love to know in the chat. I'm going to take a look at the chat. I'd love to know, do you guys use a webcam on your laptop, or are you on desktop when you're normally doing video interviews at home or doing like video meetings? I just want to know, is it a laptop or a desktop? I would love to know that. And okay, great. Thank you guys. Lot of laptops. Okay, yeah, camera built into the Mac, absolutely. Okay, webcam on a laptop, great. That's what I needed to know. So I'm going to talk about positioning your camera on your webcam, specifically on your laptop. Even though some of you do have desktop, most people do have laptops. And we're also going to talk about the technology that people are using. You know, 3-4 months ago, nobody knew what Zoom was. I've been using Zoom every day for 10 or 12 hours a day, literally 7 days a week for probably 2.5 years. I love Zoom, but you've got to learn the technology, you even have to learn how to, for instance, share your screen. So it's important to know how to navigate the chat feature, how to navigate sharing your screen, as well as just navigating your background, because you can use virtual backgrounds. I'm going to show you how to do that so that you don't have to clean up your room. So then we're also going to talk today, go into great detail about nonverbal communication. So I've got a ton of information to share with you today and a lot of handouts that you can use, that you can take with you. I'm going to be touching on those high points of the nonverbal communication and also ways that you can look comfortable and confident in a video interview. And then I'm going to let you take that home by downloading those. So that's what we're going to be learning today. So let's first start with staging. Staging, in essence, is what you're seeing around me right here. It's very, very simple. As you can see, I guess it's coordinated. I mean, my flowers coordinate with my outfit somewhat. My lipstick coordinates with my shirt, or my jacket. So you want coordination, you want simple, you want colorful, and you also you want to make sure that you're well lighted and your audio is great. So staging is really your background. So let's talk about virtual background versus what you can do here in just a regular background. So in choosing a location, you want something that will be quiet. In other words, you can get the dogs and the cats and the kids away from the room, shut the door so that it's quiet. And it's really a good idea to have, like if you have a window in a room, that you would want to face the window so that the light from the window is coming on your face and that you don't have most of your lighting coming from behind you. That's the number one big mistake that people make with lighting, is they put lighting behind them and they end up being a silhouette. You can't see their face. So you also want to make sure that if you're using a laptop, which most of you are, that you've got power sources available. Either you're plugged into a battery or you're plugged into the wall. You do not want your laptop to go dead because you're in an interview and you forgot to check the power source and the amount of power that your laptop has. That's really important. So this is kind of like a checklist. We're going to give you these slides. I want you to use this as a staging checklist prior to a video interview. And let's talk about color temperature for a second. This gets a little technical, but natural lighting versus artificial lighting. Now, with artificial lighting, you can look, if it's an incandescent bulb, it can look very yellow and it can make you look yellow. If you've got just like, I know some people have overhead, just the light that makes you turn greenish white. I can't remember exactly what that's called, but you can help me out, Brian. But you really want to make sure that you've got as much natural light as possible. Now, they sell bulbs that you can screw in that does have full spectrum light, and full spectrum light is as close to natural light as possible. So if you do not have a natural light source, or you're interviewing when there's no sun coming in or no indirect light from the light source, you do want to have a full spectrum bulb if you can. So also, it's better to have a lot of space behind you. So I don't have a lot of space behind me, but the best staging does have the rest of the room behind you so that you've got quite a bit of space. That's the best staging. And you also want to frame your shot. So like right now, I'm kind of not in the middle. I was over on the side. So I can lean over here toward the middle and make sure that I'm framed in the middle of the shot. You do want to think about the composition of what you're looking at, with you being in the center third of the video. Okay, so it goes in thirds. That's what composition rules look like. Thirds this way and thirds this way. So if you want to know where your eyes need to be, they need to be at the top of the middle third or the bottom of the first third. That's where your eyes should be, not the top of your head. So if you're cutting your camera into thirds, both vertically and horizontally, your eyes are at the beginning of the top third, and then you want to be in the middle third of the vertical thirds. Okay, so that's how you frame your shot. And all of this, the background composition, the lighting, no visual distractions, that amplifies a professional appearance. You know, one of my very favorite clients is in Sydney, Australia. And when I talk with her, now we're just doing coaching sessions, but when I talk with her, she sits at a particular table and behind her is a big mirror. And in that mirror is a big, tall spindle. I don't know if that's in her kitchen or in her bedroom, but this thing comes out of her head. So I told her when she goes for video interviews, you've got to stay away from wherever you're at right now, because right now it looks like there's a big unicorn horn right out of your head. So don't have something that's distracting coming out of your head. So make sure that when you're looking at everything, you've got no distractions behind you. All right. Just keep those in mind. Now, here's what not to do. This is John. John forgot to clean up before his interview. And shout out to everybody who knows who John is. So if you know who John is, please put it in the chat. I'd love to make sure that world champions are being represented here. So he forgot to clean up before his video interview. He's got some beer cans in the background. He's got a sheet for his blinds, and he's just not showing he's not looking for a professional position. Let's put it that way. And if he is looking for a professional position, he's not going to get it looking like this. So if anybody knows who John is, stick it out there. Do not let your memes be dreams. Absolutely right. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Okay. So that's what not to do. John is what not to do. All right. So keep in mind he's not even following the rule of thirds. His eyes are down at the bottom. He's not in the middle of the screen. What's in the middle of the screen? Beer cans. Not a good look. Not a good look. All right. So let's talk about virtual background, because I did see a question in there. What do I think about green screens? With Zoom, you don't even need a green screen. However, green screens are becoming more and more popular. In fact, I'm going to give a plug to one of my coaches who actually owns his own business as well. He's a very famous videographer and video coach, and his name is Stephen Washer. He's in Connecticut, and he owns visibleauthority.com. If you're interested in green screens, he's got a free ultimate guide to green screens. If you go to Visible Authority, you can pick up the download, which is an ultimate guide to green screens, and it's absolutely free. And he's awesome. He's not going to spam you. He's fantastic at what he does. He does all of my video editing, and he does a brilliant job. I don't even have to tell him what to do. He just knows what to do. But if you're looking for a virtual background on Zoom lets you pick a virtual background in settings. I don't know if you guys know that, but if you have a darker background, or one that's anything that's dark in the background, but you've got some light on your face, that's perfect, as long as the virtual background matches the temperature of the light on your face. And that's why I mentioned temperature before. So you can either have a cool temperature, which is very whitish green, or you can have a warm temperature, which is very yellowish. And so you want that right in the middle, which is full spectrum. That's what you're looking for. So if you go to Google to get a background, I'm going to show you what a virtual background looks like when it's done well. So what you would do is go to Google and put in virtual background Zoom, and then come over here to the right. If you can look over at the right-hand side of the Google picture, it says Tools. You click on Tools, and then you've got any size, large, medium, or icon. You want to click on large, and large or medium is going to give you enough pixels that your background is going to look nice and sharp, not pixelated, not fuzzy. You can always tell a bad virtual background because it's too small of a picture, and they blow it up, and so it gets pixelated, it gets fuzzy. So find this suitable background picture for Zoom by putting in virtual background Zoom and then selecting Tools, large or medium, and then you'd want to make sure that it's nice and sharp and it matches the lighting. In other words, when you put it behind you, can you tell that it's virtual, I want to show you a really good example of someone who does it right. All right. This is a new client of mine. He's now one of my favorite clients because this is a virtual background. I didn't know that when he came to talk with me. I'm like, that is a beautiful staging. You've done such a good job. And he goes, yeah, it's a picture. I said, wow. So he sent me the picture. I was so impressed. He even has a blue shirt to match it. So this is a great virtual background. And my husband, Brian, actually looked at it and said, do you realize that that isn't even real? That's actually computer done through a CAD drawing. Can you believe that? So he's absolutely certain that this is not a picture, that this is an actual CAD drawing. I'd love to know what you think in here. But, you know, sometimes if you can't stage your background and make it look nice, you can choose a virtual background from Google while you're using Zoom. It doesn't work with Skype that I know of, and it doesn't work with WebEx, but Zoom will allow you to upload a virtual background, and it makes you look really nice, as long as the lighting matches, temperature of the light matches. All right, now let's talk a little bit about lighting. So I want to tell you, I actually have a professional ring light that's really tall up here. It's a 14-inch ring light, and I'm going to have Lacey put the Amazon link if you want to invest in lighting to make sure that everything looks great. There are two links that I want to give you. One of them is a 14-inch ring light like mine. It's $79.99, so it's $80, and it comes in two different temperatures as far as either a yellowish light or a white light. I prefer the white light, which is what's on me. And then it is dimmable. So I don't put it up all the way, but I put it up almost all the way because I want something really nice and bright. And then if you don't want to invest in a 14-inch ring light, you can invest in a 10-inch desk ring light that it's not tall and up in the air, but it sits on your desk, and it's a 10-inch ring light, and it's only $32.99. So I would probably recommend, if you're only using this for interviews, that you do have a ring light. And I'll tell you the difference why when I show you the before and after with my client. So if you have overhead bulbs that are coming down and you've got these sharp shadows coming down, you want to avoid those. You want to unscrew the overhead bulbs. And if you can, face a window. That's your best source of light. Or anything behind the webcam. So think about your laptop. Put the laptop where the source of light is behind the laptop coming at your face. Sometimes you want to remove the lampshades to change the color temperature. If you're looking too yellowish, you can take off the lampshades and it's going to give you a white light. And you can change the bulb to be one of those full spectrum lights, even if it's, I don't know if LED is full spectrum, but I do know that compact fluorescents are full spectrum. So if anybody in there knows that if they make LEDs that are full spectrum, let us know. And you want to open or close the window shades or blinds. In other words, have something that will allow you to put in more or less sunlight when it comes in. And again, facing the window is the best result. Now, here's something important though. Test the same time of day as the interview that's scheduled. So if your interview is scheduled on a Wednesday afternoon at 2 o'clock, on Tuesday afternoon at 2 o'clock, come to your desk, get that webcam up, make sure everything is staged, and take a look at how much light you want to bring in. And of course, it will all depend on the weather as well. So we've got the, again, there's the 10-inch desk ring light for $32.99 and the 14-inch ring light for $79.99. It really is up to you. The one that I'm going to show you as an example, he was a client that he was the one that just got the job that did nothing but Zoom interviews. So I worked with him to stage his background, get his lighting and his audio correct so that everything was absolutely perfect. You want to avoid glares, harsh shadows. You definitely don't want to have a light source coming up to you because your shadows are going to be up and it's going to look like you're telling a ghost story. And you definitely don't want to tell a ghost story when you're in an interview. So This is before and after with my client that he's not John, he's a Jonathan. It isn't his actual real name, but he's not a John. He's a Jonathan. And I wanted to show you what his video looked like when he first talked with me. This was on his initial consultation with me on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, he's using professional lighting. He had the 14-inch ring light that I have, and he also has a lavalier microphone. That means a lapel microphone that you hook on to your shirt, and he has it hooked on below his camera so that you can't see it. And then he put his guitars behind him up on the wall, as well as some sheet music and the amplifier. It's probably a Marshall, and maybe, I don't know. If that's not a Marshall, tell me what that is. I'd love to know. All right. So yes, Guitar John. That's right, Bob. Thank you very much. That's very funny. All right. Okay. So Todd said something about adjusting the angle of the glasses slightly down on the nose or arms up slightly. So yes, actually, I know that from Steve, my video expert. He explained to me how to get rid of the glare. And I'm not doing it today. So if you see some glare when I'm looking up, it's because I'm not doing it. But here's what he says to do. So you take your glasses, if you've got glasses, and you're going to put the arms of the glasses up some so that you're going to tilt the glasses down. If you tilt the glasses down, you're not going to see any glare. That'll keep the glare from going. Now, I've got progressive lenses because I'm old, and so I can't read as well if I have progressive lenses, so I don't usually do it. Although, when I'm doing a video for YouTube, I will change that usually so that you can't see my, you can't see the glare in the face. So, and I have different lights in my office, so that's a little bit different. So, the cool thing about Jonathan here is that he made such a great impression, not only with his answers, not only with his questions, and we've been around how to answer, you know, the introduction and the 3 core strengths and telling stories and things like that. But he did such a great job of that, and everything looked professional behind him. They actually offered him $75,000 more per year than he and I were asking for. And so the only thing we had to negotiate was weeks of vacation, which I was able to get him a couple weeks of vacation extra. But other than that, I mean, we couldn't really, they had agreed on $300,000. They ended up giving him $375,000. He's not going to complain. I think a lot of it, though, was unconscious because he was seen as a professional with all of this stuff behind him. All right, now let's talk for a little about audio, just a little bit. Bad audio is the #1 way to ruin a video interview, and here's why. If you've got an older laptop, or if you're not close enough to the laptop itself, it's called a clip. The first 1 to 2 seconds that you talk is it's clipping off. You can't hear yourself. And so there have been more than one client that I've said, listen, I got to send you a lavalier mic. And so a lavalier mic is just a lapel mic. And Lacey can put the link to the lavalier light and stick that up in the sticky up top. So the lavalier audio, it's a microphone. So the microphone's about this big. It's right here. I forgot to get my sample out, but you can use a desktop microphone and you can find one of those for under $50. The lavalier microphone is about $23, I think. Yeah, $23.99 is what that is. And so what happens is the webcam, especially webcams, they don't have very good audio. They don't have very good microphones. So if you plug in a lavalier microphone, and the one that Lacey's got listed actually plugs into your computer. So it's got a USB at the end. And it was interesting because when I got the link this morning, it said I had bought that 27 times. So I actually buy it for a number of clients and just send it out to them and say, listen, tomorrow you're going to get a lavalier microphone in the mail. Amazon really is a great resource for that. So you can get that $23.99 microphone, and it's wonderful. The nice part about it is that it doesn't pick up all of the stuff around you in the room. So if the kids are screaming down the hall or the dogs are barking because somebody's ringing the doorbell, you really can't hear that because the lavalier microphone only picks up what's within 12 inches or so of the microphone. So that's the most beautiful part. You could have anybody behind you screaming and yelling, they're not going to hear it. That's why I love the lavalier mic. So again, test it before you actually start. You want to make sure it works. You want to make sure it's clear and it's not scratchy. You want to make sure it sounds great. And that's testing it before you get on the video interview. Don't actually wait until the day of in order to test that. All right, so now let's talk about webcam positioning. This is super important, guys. I got to tell you, I cannot tell you the number of times I have looked up somebody's nose. So here's what happens. Usually you'll put the laptop on the table and you'll open that laptop up and the webcam's at the top of the laptop and it goes straight up your nose. So I've spent so many coaching sessions, and it only happens once with me, but you have one coaching session where the webcam's going right up somebody's nose. You do not want that. You don't want anybody looking up your nose. This is not a flattering look if you're going up to your face. All right. So here's where you need to put it. You need to put it higher than you think you might. I recommend putting some books. Now, there's no phone books anymore, really, but if you put a whole stack of books and then put the laptop up on top of it, you want I've got actually, I have a Logitech I think it's C920, but you don't have to get that. As a matter of fact, I think they stopped making it. They discontinued it on Amazon. But there are other really good webcams, but I don't use the webcam microphone. That's a really big deal because most of the time the webcam microphones don't sound very good. But you put the webcam, whether that's on the laptop or one that you buy, you put it equal to the top of your head. So you want that top of your head to be equal to the webcam. I'm looking straight. This is a really important piece, guys. If you leave this webinar with nothing but this one piece of advice, it is when you're having a video interview, don't look them in the eyes, because if you're looking the interviewer in the eyes, you're not going to be looking in their eyes. They're not going to see the eye contact. So what you do is you look straight into the camera. And if the webcam is up at the top, you're actually going to be looking up at the top. Now, when we talk about using the different technologies, I'm going to give you a tip that you can use so that you can look them in the eye and still make it look like you're looking them straight in the eye. But I do recommend not using your phone for video because most people don't know how to use their phone correctly for great video. There are some ways to do it, but it takes a little bit of maneuvering, and I didn't want to go into that type of maneuvering there. However, if you wanted to reach out to Steve Washer at Visible Authority, he's out right now. He should be back, I think, by next week. And so if you wanted to just send him a quick message, visibleauthority.com, and just ask him about, I think he's actually got some free video advice on how to use your phone for great video, if that's what you have, if that's the best that you've got. Also, close other computer programs when you've got the webcam being used. That's really important. I always do that when I'm doing these live streams, and I've noticed that with Zoom is a resource hog. So if you've got Zoom running, you can't have a lot of file explorers up, a lot of tabs on your Google Chrome. You can't have a lot of PowerPoints up or Excel spreadsheets up. It's really best to close those when you're on a video interview, because you don't want to freeze simply because that's a really bad thing. To freeze, it just frustrates the interviewer, and it makes the interview not go as well. So close all of your other applications because Zoom is a resource hog, especially if you're using Zoom. All right, let's talk about the video technology. We're talking about Zoom, Skype, WebEx, There are probably some others. No one uses Skype anymore. That's pretty much gone by the wayside. Everybody's using Zoom now. You know, it's amazing to me that Zoom overnight went from a business video tool to literally a pandemic social media platform, because everybody started using Zoom. Everybody started having happy hours via Zoom. Now everybody understands how to use Zoom. But do know, play with that technology, play with Zoom. You can open up an account for free, and you can actually, here's what I want you to do. You need to learn how to share your screen. You also need to learn under settings how to upload a background if you want a fake background. You just have to make sure that that background matches the lighting that's on your face and your chest, okay? So you want to test it. I'm going to tell you, there was one time that I had a client, a past client, that it took her on Zoom for the first time that we used it together. It took her 40 minutes to learn how to share. And I couldn't show her because when you're sharing your own screen, your Zoom stuff doesn't come up. So it was extremely frustrating for me because our coaching session was a 45-minute coaching session. So it took 40 minutes for her to learn how to share her screen. For goodness sakes, if you're going to share your screen during a video interview, if you've got something to show them, like any kind of presentation, any kind of stats that you want to show them in a visual way, learn how to share your screen ahead of time, please. So learn that tool. Now, here's something that I want you to do. This is the secret to having a great video interview. Take the Zoom and shrink it as small as you can, really tiny, and then put the Zoom window all the way up to the top, right underneath your webcam. So if you've got a clip-on webcam, which is going to be a higher quality webcam than the one that comes with the camera, then it's going to be right next to that clip-on webcam. If you have one that you're using that is in the camera, you're going to put it right underneath the camera webcam. When you do that, you can actually look their tiny face in the eye, and it does look like you're looking them in the eye. Now, I do that every single time. When I'm talking to you right now, I'm looking at the camera in the eye, and that's really important because eye contact shows confidence. It builds rapport, and it builds likability. If you aren't looking at the webcam, if you're constantly talking and you're looking down like this because their face is down below, you actually look defeated. You actually look like, unconsciously, they're getting the idea that you are not a confident leader because you're looking down versus looking them up in the eye. So that's very, very important to put that up there. Something else too is that you can do this for free as well. With your own Zoom account, you can record yourself using whatever account you're using, like Zoom, WebEx, whatever it is that they give you that you're going to be using on a video interview. Use it ahead of time, record yourself a few times. And what I would recommend is recording the answer to tell me about yourself, record your introduction, so that you can watch your body movements. You can listen to how you sound. You want to make sure that the audio isn't clipping off the first second of what you're saying. Everything's really important. The quality is super, super important in a video interview, okay? So record that and then watch it back, because you're going to get a lot of insight as to what your automatic tics are, like verbal tics, like ums and ahs and things like that. So you can get rid of those just by showing what it is that how you normally answer a question, and then you can change the way that you answer it based upon that video. So I would do that the day of or the day before, so that you can see yourself and do any last minute tweaks before actually going to the video interview. So the day of the interview, let's talk about what you do the day of the interview. So last looks, hair, makeup. I know I'm having a great hair day, so I am up because of it. I am like, my energy is sky high because of my hair day. So make sure your outfit is put together. It's relatively conservative. A lot of men ask me, should I wear a suit? I would say that these days I would wear like a suit jacket. Doesn't have to be a three-piece suit jacket, but a suit jacket with no tie. You can, if you want, you can wear a tie, but really a buttoned up shirt, a nice one, maybe it could be colored. It doesn't have to be white. If you're going to wear a white shirt, you might put a tie on, but you don't want to be, you want to show respect for the process, but you don't want to be so stiff that you're not comfortable. You want to make sure that you're comfortable, but you're well put together. All right. You also want to check the background for distractions. So show yourself in the video and look in the back to see if there's anything popping out of your head, anything on the wall that's distracting. If there's piles of books or papers or anything like that, move them out of the way of the camera. Make sure everything looks nice and clean. Make sure that your kids, keep your pets out of the room. Take your dogs and put them somewhere else as well as your kids. Also, this is super important. I want you to keep hydrated. I'll tell you why. Because not being hydrated, if you've got a dry mouth, that can really ruin a great interview answer. You may have the perfect answer, but if you sound like you got this dry mouth going and things are just kind of fuzzy, you don't want to do that. Trust me, it's going to be distracting and they're not going to listen to a word you say because you've got this dry mouth. So make sure you've got some water available and keep hydrated. So when they're talking, that's when you sip your water, not in the middle of your answer, but in the middle of what they're saying, maybe their question or their comments about your answer. That's when you drink. You just want to make sure you're always hydrated. You think maybe I had a client of mine say, wow, you drink so much water. You're so disciplined. And I'm like, it has nothing to do with discipline. It's because I'm going to have a dry mouth because I talk so much. So then also the day of the interview, I want you to eliminate background noise. In other words, silence your phone. Always silence your phone. Silence your computer. Don't let the computer make ding noises when you're talking. It's distracting. You don't want to distract them from the information coming out of your mouth. Here's something else too. Now I'm going to tell you guys and gals. Gals, I don't have to talk this into. Guys, I do. This right here is from, the maker is called Julep, Julep. It is a white powder called an invisible finishing powder. So it's white, but you can actually use it on all skin colors. And it's basically a very, very fine powder that keeps you from looking sweaty. So if you naturally have a shine, that's totally fine, except in an interview, you don't want to shine. So either, and this goes for men too, either ask your wife for some finishing powder, some kind of powder that goes up there. And the translucent powder, Lacey put it up there. It's Julep Insta Filter Invisible Finishing Powder. That's what I use. It's great. I mean, I actually don't even have any foundation on. I just use the finishing powder, and it's like a filter. It's beautiful. But for men and women, I recommend, if you're not going to use powder, at least get some tissues and blot anything on your face, any oil that happens naturally on your face. If you want to take oil away naturally, you can use witch hazel. It's very cheap. It's less than $1 at the drugstore, and you can put witch hazel on your face, and it blots up the oil. But if you tend to sweat when you're nervous, you don't want to appear sweaty because you'll then appear nervous. So put some powder on, and then you don't have to worry about it because it continues to absorb even as you go through the interview. All right. It's not an Amazon link. I wouldn't recommend Amazon. I didn't put the link up there simply because I honestly didn't think that you guys would invest in this because it's $20. I don't know if you want to invest in $20 of powder. This is Julep, but they do sell it online. Just go to julep.com, Julep. And it's cheaper that way, actually, because if you subscribe to their newsletter, they give you 30 and 40% coupons all the time. So if you buy it on Amazon, you have to pay full price. If you buy it from julep.com, they'll give you a coupon for almost half off. So that's what I recommend. Buy it for $10 or $12. I never pay full price for it. And also, there's going to be a bonus resource. Lacey, go ahead and put the tips for looking natural on camera up, available for download. And we're going to go over those tips for looking natural on camera. And those are 23 different tips that you could use before and during the video interview. And you will want to use that tip sheet. So we'll go through a few of them that I've highlighted, but for the most part, you want to download that as a resource. So now let's talk about nonverbal communication. And I know that we're coming up to the top of the hour. Let's go over the nonverbal communication and notes. So here's something to remember. If you've listened to me before, you've heard me talk about a cheat sheet, which is a couple of words to remind you of a quantifiable result, an achievement, followed by the quantifiable result. And so it's an open book test. Think about putting the picture of the person for the video interview right below the camera. And then underneath, you've got your Word document that's your cheat sheet. Okay. And so you want to have your cheat sheet right underneath so that when you're talking, you're just glancing down a little bit to read on the cheat sheet. Your questions are there. And so you want to put all of your questions written on the cheat sheet, as well as some cues on your best achievements. What achievements are going to be most relevant to the job that you're interviewing for, so you can put it up there. Okay. So put it right up there underneath them. Also, when you watch yourself on camera, check to see that you're not going and ah all the time. A lot of people do it. In fact, I normally do it. If I don't watch myself, I do it all the time. So I've got to watch myself, and I exchange an and an ah for silence. Silence, instead of saying and ah, actually shows you to be more powerful. It comes across as more confident, and you show yourself to be a leader and more executive than if you are just saying and ah in between to make sure that you just fill up the space. You don't want to fill up the space. If you get tense, it's okay to take some deep breaths and relax your shoulders. Now, you don't want to sigh that loud, but if you start to feel yourself tense up, just take some deep breaths and relax those shoulders, put the shoulders back, and you're going to be just fine. All right, now let's talk about the nonverbal communication. Do what you need to do to relax prior to filming. In other words, prior to the video. You really want to also aim to speak a little slower than normal. I get excited when I get on video and I start talking really fast, as you can tell. You guys are probably the same way. It is normal for us to want to talk faster, and also our voice intonation to go higher when we get excited. And we're really excited or excitable in an interview. So bring it down, talk lower, and talk a little slower than you normally do, and then you'll be just fine, because your tendency is to talk faster and you really want to slow it down to sound more normal. The number one thing, though, is to look directly at the webcam. Wherever your camera is, that's where you're going to look, because that's your eye contact. Eye contact is extremely important in a video interview. Also, if you're feeling low energy, there's a few things you can do. You can caffeinate. You can have a cup of coffee or a soda. You know, sugar actually is a short-term answer. I don't care for putting a lot of sugar in my body, because it's just long-term, it's not good for me. But short-term, you can sugar yourself. You can caffeinate yourself. There's a yoga technique of relaxing each body part, starting with your head. You tense it up, and then you relax it. And your neck and your jaw, you tense it up, really tense, and then you relax it. You do that with every body part from here all the way down to your feet. You're going to tense it up just momentarily and then relax those muscles. That is what's going to help you relax your entire body. Once you're done doing that, and it takes about, I would say, 4 minutes to do prior to an interview. If you relax your entire body that way, you feel so much calmer, much, much more calm. All right. Now, in the interview, you also want to make sure that your blood is pumping, that you're feeling alive. I always say, when you're in a video interview, don't feel Sorry, there's a little bug. Don't feel like you have to be 100% perfect, and also don't feel like you have to keep your hands in between your shoulders. Go ahead and use, if you got a large something that you did, you moved, for instance, you're in a video interview and you said, I took, our margins from 0.7 to 3.5%, and it shows that you're really bigger than life. Please be bigger than life in video, because it doesn't look weird or uncommon when you're being bigger in life on video. Also, schedule the interview for your best time of the day. If you're a morning person and you're up and sharp first thing in the morning, then make it for first thing in the morning. They can work around your schedule. So if they say, no, you have to do it 3 p.m, you say, well, is there another day that would work better for you in the morning? And then just do it in the morning. If you're a morning person, if you'd rather do it at the end of the day, if you're up at the end of the day, the worst time of day probably to do it is 2 p.m, because that's when people start to get that 2 p.m. slump. They've caffeinated in the morning and the caffeine is now out of their body and they are down. So you definitely don't want to do a 2 p.m. But if you're able to keep yourself up at 4 or at 5, do that at the end of the day, or do something when you're fresh in the morning and you're really feeling good. So check in with your body language, and go ahead, Lacey, and put the nonverbal communication up there as a download. This is priceless. I have taken all of the really important nonverbal communication cues, both positive and negative, and put them into one resource that has 92 different cues for nonverbal communication. We're going to go over some highlighted ones, and I know that we're getting close to the top of the hour, so you want to start the interview with getting the interviewer engaged. So talk about them. Find something in your research to talk about. So know that at the very beginning of the interview, that's what you're going to talk about. When that camera comes on, you're going to give a big, genuine smile. You're going to start with a smile, and then you're going to say, when I was researching you, I saw that you were speaking on YouTube at a conference 3 years ago, and you said blah, 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 blah. That was fascinating. Tell me more about that. All of a sudden, they're emotionally engaged in the interview and they do want to talk with you. So that's how you get them engaged, is with an educated question of something about them. All right. So here's Brian's email. Here's my email. I do want to, let's see, Lacey, if you want to put up the picture of Brian to set up a time to talk. Oh gosh, you guys, I'm so excited. And I know that some of you have left, but I have to tell you, if you have already raised your hand to get information about the group interview program, then you're going to get something special in the next couple of weeks in your inbox, in your mail inbox. So if you want more information about the group interview program that is extremely extensive, 8 weeks, twice a week, really good information, you get a whole lot of resources. I'm not going to pitch it because it's not for sale yet, but if you're interested in getting that something special in your inbox and you haven't raised your hand and said, yeah, me too, then just put yes in the chat. So if you're interested in getting the information about the group interview program, just say yes in the chat, and we will make sure that you're part of the group that gets that special information. Also, just to let you know, guys, that I and Brian and our girls, we've got a 21-year-old and a 17-year-old. We are going to Denver next week for vacation, and I'm going to be coming to you next Friday from Denver. So I'm going to try to do it outside because it's gorgeous. They got a hot tub, so I'm thinking about I might do it in the hot tub. We'll see. So I hope you guys can join me next Friday. I haven't decided what I'm going to talk about. So if you've got something in particular that you want me to cover in great detail, just put it out on the chat, because I read these chat logs after every single time. I would love to know what you'd like me to talk about in the near future. So just very, very quickly, I'm going to go to the slides, and hello, I'm going to let's see. so there's, you know, we don't have a whole lot of time. I've already sent this to you, so I want to be respectful of your time, and I want you to get back to any 4th of July party that you've got, or get back to work. But really, what you can do is read through this. The tips for looking natural on camera, I think you can read. Now, they're not highlighted. I highlighted the ones just for this particular thing here. Let's see. Yeah. I want you to read the nonverbal communication. And here's what I want you to do with it. For the positive things about this, like a tilted head symbolizes interest in someone or something. So when someone if you're on an interview and they tell you a story, or they tell you something like an initiative that they're doing, lean forward and move your head to the side and go, really? That's fascinating. Tell me more about that. So tilt your head. It shows that you're interested. And also look for their head tilt. That shows that they're interested. You know what I might do is I might either make a separate video with all of these things to talk about, and I can just do a quick video for you guys, and I could send it out to everyone, or I can make it next week's. I can make it next week's topic about nonverbal communication, because we got a lot to talk about at that. And so maybe I'll do that. So let me know in the chat if you would prefer me making a separate video before I go on vacation, or if you want it to be our topic of discussion for next week. I'd really love to know, because I've got a lot to share with you on nonverbal communication. I've highlighted a lot of things, and I can explain a lot of things in great detail. So nonverbal communication is a big favorite of mine, because it really applies to the unconscious, and the unconscious is what is most important. People make decisions. This is a cool fact. People make decisions 7 seconds unconsciously before they make the decision consciously. What that means is that a large majority of our decisions are being made on an unconscious level, and nonverbal communication is unconscious. It's all unconscious, and that's how people are registering it, whether they know it consciously or not. They're looking at, for instance, the occasional nod from a listener or a speaker is a positive message when they're listening to you. But if they're doing bobblehead, if they're just doing this, that means you've lost them. They're not interested. They're just doing that they're just doing this too much. It ends up being, you've lost them. You've lost them at that point. So you got to get them back, and you got to get them back with something shocking and different that'll wake them up. So let's talk about that next week. So I'm going to look through the chat, and I'm going to find out if you want me to talk about that next week, or if you want me to do a separate video on nonverbal communication. So, okay, I do want to be respectful of your time, guys. I told you I was going to only go an hour. I've got some questions, most of them around nonverbal communication. So this is what I'll do. Next week, we'll make nonverbal communication the topic of the hour. It's going to be, there's so much to learn about nonverbal communication. You're going to be a master. It's going to be so cool. So study the 2 downloads that you have here. Study those ahead of time, and I'm going to go over the really important ones, and I'm going to give you supplemental information about it that you didn't know. So download those 2 pieces. Also, if the slides aren't up, go ahead and put the slides up, Lacey. And these are the slides for today's checklist of what you need to do for a video interview. And I do want to know, okay, so for those of you left, I really want to know, now, how confident are you about going into a video interview? Once you read through that nonverbal communication and you know exactly how to stage yourself with lighting, oh, look at that, 100%. That's probably just one person though. So yeah, I'd like to know, how do you feel going into a video interview right now? With all of this information supplied, do you think you're going to do well? Let me at them. Are you really ready to rock and roll it? Yes, you are. 71%, 75, 77. Can I get 80? Can I get 80? Can I get 80%? Nope, 70. Okay. All right. I really appreciate it, guys. It sounds like I did my job here. My job here is done, and I've got 60% of you guys saying, yes, you are absolutely ready to rock it. So we'll go over the nonverbal communication. We'll have plenty of time for a lot of questions next week as well, because I should have known there was so much information here. We need to break it into 2 parts. So that's, I really appreciate it, guys. 60% to 39% looks great. Okay. So I am going to leave this chat on for just a few minutes because I want to know your feedback. What was your biggest aha of today? I want to know what you learned today that you didn't know before, and what you're most excited about for next time. So what did I do right on this one? And what would you like more information on? What would you like me to do in the future? Because I do want to, I want to look at the chat here. All right. Great session. Awesome. Okay. Oh, lavalier mic. Sure. If you are, what you want to do is try to place it out of view, but it's okay if somebody sees it. You're just going to clip it about 4 inches. Here's the way to do it. I think this is the way that Steve Washer tells me to do it, is to do your hand like this. Now I've got a little hand, but do your hand and place it where your thumb is. So put your fingers on your chin and go down and place the lapel right here, the lapel mic, and that's what's going to be perfect. You want to make sure that you don't sound breathy, that they don't hear your pops when you pop your P's, but keep it down here and you should be fine. Sometimes that doesn't even show on the webcam. So, all right. Always great to read nonverbal cues and how to pre-read the interviewer. Absolutely. Absolutely, Mark. You are correct. You are correct. Okay, great. Anything else you want to learn? Put it in the chat. I'm going to see you guys later and let you go. And then I'll check with you next week. Have a wonderful 4th of July, a very safe 4th of July. And then I will see you next week at 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock Mountain Time, because I'm going to be coming to you from Denver, hopefully outside in the backyard. All right. Thanks. Talk to you soon. Have a great weekend. Bye.